see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom.
Welcome to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, powered by Jack's Angels, where we talk about your experiences, advocacy news, research, and today's heroes for kids. We are here to bring hope to the unthinkable but real experience of a child diagnosed with cancer. Jack's Angels' advocacy mission is to provide a voice for children with cancer to effect change for a more hopeful future for those to come. Childhood Cancer Talk Radio starts right now. Here is your host, Janet Demeter. Welcome to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure. I'm Janet Demeter, your host, and we have a truly unique and extraordinary show lined up for you today. BethAnn Telford is an incredibly talented and hardworking athlete. Paraphrasing from her own story, a lifetime of activities and pushing physical and mental boundaries prepared her for her most difficult challenge. In 2004, while running the Marine Corps Marathon, she felt a pop in her head around mile mark 19, and over the next month started to experience problems with her balance and unclear thoughts. BethAnn was diagnosed with brain cancer, and in April of 2005, she had her first brain surgery and had to learn to walk, talk, and move all over again. And as her rehabilitation began, she was determined to run again. And 6 weeks later, she ran her first 5K race and trained throughout the summer to run and finish the Marine Corps Marathon, stopping at mile mark 19 to reflect on her journey and silently thank her doctors, family, and friends that supported her during her struggles. Now, since then, she's endured a second surgery, finished 5 Boston marathons, 13 Marine Corps marathons, 2 Lake Placid Ironman competitions, the Kona Ironman World Championship in 2012, and just in this last year, I believe, and she can correct me if I'm wrong, the Crossing the Canyon, a 9-hour rim-to-rim trek of the Grand Canyon. We're having her on today in part to support her next unbelievable challenge. She's training right now for the World Marathon Challenge in January of 2017, which consists of running 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. More than just crazed for running, Beth runs to cure brain cancer. She began Team BT for BethAnn Telford as part of the Race for the Cure event held annually in Washington, D.C., raising funds for ABC Squared, a company with a venture philanthropy approach to funding brain cancer research. And she is joined today by Max Wallace, the CEO of ABC Squared, with the entrepreneurial biotech background to be the company's consummate leader. BethAnn and Max, welcome to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio. We're so grateful to have you.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
It's fantastic. So, I really can't complain over here in California, but I hear it's pretty cold out there for you guys.
well, for me, yes, it is here in DC. It's pretty darn cold, and but I have to get used to that for what I'm about ready to take on in a few weeks.
Right. Now your first marathon, your first day is in Antarctica. Is that right?
That is correct, Janet. It's in Union Glacier, Antarctica, which is a glacier that's part of course, the continent of Antarctica. And that starts, hopefully, if we're all on track, January 23rd.
That's amazing. That's just crazy. So is it, so obviously, if you're starting on a glacier, are you prepared to run in snow?
Yeah, pretty much more like ice, but I had talked to previous contestants that were on this event. This is the 3rd year they'll be doing it, the year that I take it on, which is next month. And it's like running in sand, like on the beach.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And how many other runners are there?
Well, at this time, there is 15 other participants in this event, so all over the world. Right now, there is another gentleman from the United States. He's pretty famous in the marathon world. His name is Ryan Hall, and he is coming from California. He's an Olympic runner. Now is since retired and is doing a lot of CrossFit. But he is the American that I'll be teaming up with for United States.
Fantastic. Have you run with him before?
I met him several years ago. One of the sponsors that I have is Pacers Running Club here in the Washington, D.C. area. They have about 7 or 8 stores. And through them, I met him at a private function. So that was when he was competing and a gold medalist. So yes, I've met him before. He's just a wonderful man.
Well, good. You'll have good company then.
Yes, yes.
When you're in Antarctica. Wow. Oh my goodness. And so then take us through. When do you go? Connect the dots for me. You start in Antarctica.
Yeah, so Antarctica, again, if we're on the time frame, and it all depends. The reason why we do Antarctica first is because it's on a glacier and we take a special plane there. And so the glacier has to be able to, withstand the pressure of this plane landing. So if we're on the timetable right, January 23rd, we're in Antarctica. And then from Antarctica, we go back to Chile where we've all met up. And we're there on the 24th, so Punta Arenas, so we're there. And then on the 25th, we're in Miami. And the 26th, we're in Madrid. The 27th, we're in Marrakesh. The 28th, we're in Dubai. And the final day is the 29th, and we're in Sydney, Australia. I'm on a plane, which is a chartered plane from Chile to the rest of the continents. So 6 continents, I'm on a chartered plane. From Chile to Antarctica, we're in a special cargo plane. It's 168 hours that will be from the very start of the Antarctica Marathon to the time we get into Sydney. But of that 168 hours, I'm about, I think it's 50 some odd hours in the air.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's that recovery time then.
Exactly. And, sleeping time, trying to make sure my legs are ready for the next, marathon. So, it's so crazy. The race director sent us the time differences and how we lose hours. We lose 2 hours here. We gain 5 hours when we get back to North America. We lose another, 7 hours by the time we get to Dubai. And then we gain 4 hours when we get to Sydney. So it was just kind of neat to see the duration of the flights as well as how much time will be lost in each or gained in each country.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So how to live while superimposed over the world, I don't know, but that's going to be an amazing experience. So how do we follow you on the ground?
So again, on the line here we have Max Wallace, who's the CEO of Accelerate Brain Cancer Cure, which is a great foundation. I'm sure he'll be talking more about it, but they have put together a wonderful team that has been marketing this event. And they also put up a site that is www and then btwmc.org. Or, of course, you can go to Accelerate Brain Cancer Cure's website, and they have, under their team, they have an ambassador section, and you can click on that, and it goes right to me, and you can donate to them. All money, 100% of the money goes to brain cancer research, which is my whole platform, mostly for pediatric. If you recall, and as well, that brain cancer this summer beat out all other cancers for the #1 killer in children, which is devastating. Yeah. So we need to do something. And you can go, not to just my website, but www.abc and then #2.org to help us find a cure for this terrible disease.
Well, thank you for that, because, it's really important. I'll try to repeat these as much as I can. Sometimes I forget them, so I appreciate your laying that out in the beginning. Again, it's www.btwmc for BethAnn Telford World Marathon Challenge.org.
Well, Janet, I'm going to say something.
Sure.
In the beginning, you said about Team BT. and now
Right.
twmc.org. I like to think of it not about myself, because it truly isn't about me. There's so many people diagnosed with brain tumors, brain cancer. So I like to say the BT stands for brain tumors. But you are right. It is Beth Telford, but I like to correct people and say, in my eyes, it's brain tumors. It just so happens that my initials are BT. That could be fate too, but I'm telling you, I'd rather it be about all of us, because this whole event that I'm taking on, and when I crossed the canyons with the wonderful Maria Parker, who teamed up with ABC Squared, Maria's like me, we believe in what ABC2 does and who they fund. And we, give all of our hard-earned money and time and dedication to them. It's run by Gene and Steve Case, and they lost their brother and brother-in-law to Dan Case to brain cancer. And it's just a mission for people like the Maria Parkers and BethAnn Telfords to help fight to find a cure.
And you're the gal to do it. I think it's perfect. I think your name and brain tumors.
Yeah.
And also the event symbolizes how small our world is, but how beautiful and varied it is, and how we all have the right to be here. And if we can do something to keep people here when they have a bad disease, we need to do something about it if we can. And so, thank you. And God bless you for what you're doing. Oh, God, yeah.
I'm very excited about Dubai, because we hooked up through ABC2, hooked up with a great team of doctors, researchers, and hospital. They're actually coming out in Dubai to cheer me on and to be there. So it's not, brain cancer is not discriminative, and it does not discriminate. And, here we are. This is a worldwide event. In what way better to team up with these great people? Max had a great conversation with someone in the UK, I believe it was, the brain tumor charity. So, we're all trying to do this, just not United States. This is world.
Right. Absolutely. And just for our listeners out there, you're listening to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio on TogiNet.com, powered by Jack's Angels Foundation. And I'm talking today with runner athlete extraordinaire BethAnn Telford, who's about to undertake the World Marathon Challenge, running 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days for brain cancer research. We'll be right back after these messages from our TogiNet sponsors. Don't go away.
Stay tuned. Janet will be right back with on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Did you know that the average teenager drinks twice as much soda as milk? Since 1983, sugar consumption in the U.S. is up 28%. Why is that? There are several reasons, but one of the most common is soft drinks. 20-ounce beverages have become the norm, and it's not surprising to find that 43% of our sugar comes from drinks. Sugar is blamed for poor nutritional diets. USDA data shows that people whose diets are high in added sugar eat less calcium, fiber, iron, protein, and many other important nutrients. Fat-free foods are also a culprit. Since sugar is fat-free, many people tend to think it's okay to eat as much as they want. Remember that just because a food is fat-free does not mean that it's calorie-free also. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond.
It's words you never heard.
By the time this show is over, you'll blink at least 30 times. The average person normally blinks about 20 times per minute, or 17,000 times a day. A faster rate usually indicates anxiety or emotional stress. What's the word for someone who blinks a lot? A squintifigo. FBI agents have identified a specific type of blink that they directly associate with gammerstaying. That's a person who tends toward deception and fraud. Attorneys, also known as pettifoggers, look for blinking when they have people on the stand. The eyelash flutter means they really do not like the question at all. Women blink more than men, but when a man blinks at a woman, he always appreciates a wink back. What's another word for flirting? Hazoku.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
You'll always have my shoulder when you cry.
Welcome back to more great conversation on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, because every child's life deserves hope. Here's Janet.
And we're back with Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure, here on TogiNet.com. I'm Janet Demeter, your host, and today I'm speaking with BethAnn Telford of Fairfax, Virginia, an amazing and hard-working athlete, taking on the World Marathon Challenge in January of 2017. Also joining us today is Max Wallace, CEO of ABC Squared, the venture philanthropy company which invests in brain cancer research, for which BethAnn is raising funds with her running. She's let's see. So BethAnn, yeah, before the break, we were discussing, there was a team of folks in Dubai. I think it's one of the first places that maybe it's the second or third stop on the marathon challenge.
Yeah.
And you were talking about their team?
Yeah, Dubai is actually the second to last.
Oh, it's the second to last, sorry.
Second to last. So, and that'll probably be the hardest, to believe it or not, because it's going to be very warm there. But, like we were talking about before the break, through ABC Squared, we hooked up with the Neurospinal Hospital there, and they are a great facility where they're a wide range of neurological, spinal, and orthopedic disorders that they treat there in Dubai, with a multinational staff that's dedicated to working with the patients and families to provide the highest levels of care and services. Kind of like what ABC Squared does on the research end, this is the hospital, doing it. And they have teamed up with us, and they're going to come out the day of the race and be there to support me. Some of the families will be there. And again, this is something that's just not United States-based brain cancer. ABC Squared has been going now for some time, going all over the world. So how better than for me to do it as well? And what I'm so excited about is just being able to team up with these other people in other parts of the world and show them that this stuff can be done.
Oh, yeah, well, they're making it happen. And so are you. And half the battle is bringing awareness to it. And also, while you do that, while you raise awareness for it, both the research and raising the funds, you're letting people see that the future really is in the global collaboration.
Oh, agreed. 100%. Yeah. And, you see that now with all these researchers and doctors sharing all of their information now, not just keeping it under the sleeves of their, shirts. Everyone's sharing this. And I believe that this is what's going to help find a cure. Maybe it's not, the cure for brain cancer, but some other leukemia or, colon cancer could help find a cure and on the way to brain cancer, and vice versa.
Absolutely. It's all worth investing in.
Yes.
That's what I like to hear anyway.
Yes.
For too many kids, and I'm just going to bring this up because, we're talking about, you had mentioned the kids, because pediatric brain cancer is the number one killer of our kids with cancer. A lot of, it's not uncommon for a family to be told when they ask, why aren't there more solutions for this disease my child has? You know what it is. You're telling me it's been around for decades. Why? And they say the numbers aren't great enough for investors. And that's why I laughed at that comment before, because it's like, that's something people actually hear.
Yep.
And we want that to change. Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly do. And it's another crazy thing is, I'm an adult with brain cancer. People think that I'm just trying to fight for the peds, but they also have to keep in mind that I myself am a cancer patient, and I'm out there fighting. But, someone like myself has been and done a lot of things that these children will never have the opportunity to do. And if they do, not to the extent I did as a healthy teenager, young adult. And it's just not fair, the amount of federal funding that these kids get compared to someone like a BethAnn Telford. And I feel that 100%, that these kids are our future. And I just want to help any way I can to stop this disease. And again, it could help some other disease. And I just find it so odd that someone like myself gets much more funding federally wise than a child.
Yeah, it's a strange disparity, because generally you think of our government resources being purposed usually for those that are underserved, right? Exactly. But it doesn't always work that way, and it almost seems to mimic the very industry that is led for the most part just because of the way it's developed and the way it's grown, but for profit, So. And I was going to, I have a little news brief that I do in the second half that I will touch on that just a little bit, but I'm grateful for your raising awareness for it, especially with the challenge that you have. You're not out of hot water, right? I mean,
no, I'm not.
Brain cancer is scary.
Yeah, it is. Thank God I'm on the good end of it right now. I met with Dr. Henry Brem, that's my doctor at Johns Hopkins, just a couple weeks ago, and got the okay. I mean, not the big thumbs up, but 3/4 of the way. And that was kind of what ABC squared even before I took this on, because everyone's like, well, are you going to be okay? They wanted to make sure that I got the clear from all of my doctors, because it's just not Henry Brem. I mean, I have a team of doctors, and they wanted to make sure that I had the okay, the green light. So I was with Henry, a couple weeks ago, and he is just not just my doctor. He's a good friend of mine, and I can speak volumes about him all day and through the week. But he wants to see me as soon as I get back, and we'll deal with the next hurdle when we need to deal with it. But right now, my focus and what he says is to focus on these 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents, and to think about how lucky I am and how far I've come and how much of an inspiration I am. And that's where, I talked to him and we cried a little bit, and he said, Beth, hopefully you'll get that $1 million mark before you leave. And if not, he knows that it'll happen, in the time that I'm gone and when I get back. But I was hoping to hit the $1 million mark before I left, but we'll see how that goes.
Well, since her diagnosis, I'm just going to add this, Beth. Telford has helped raise more than $835,000 for brain cancer research. With her participation in the World Marathon Challenge, she hopes to hit the $1 million milestone. Telford is seeking pledge donations for all 183.4 miles she runs in the event. Donations and sponsorship of her research fundraising campaign can be made at www.btwmc.org. That's btwmc.org. You're an inspiration to all of us. I mean, a lot of people couldn't get a doctor's okay to go run 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 days, even when they're in pretty good health.
Well, it's so funny because when I do go see Dr. Brem, it's kind of like he looks at me with that one eye and the finger pointed and is like, what are you up to now? And then I try to tell him, and he couldn't wrap his head around this when we initially talked about it a year ago. But then the more I sent him, the more I got from the race director. He's like, oh, my God. So unbelievable. And then when I just saw him, I gave him the shoelaces that we're promoting through ABC Squared. And, he's all for this. But again, I just have to listen to my body. And, I've been told so many times in the amount of running that I've done, if it's in your heart, you're going to do it and you're going to complete it, and you're going to be successful. And that's where I am. And I'm on a mission.
It's great. It's an amazing mission. And I'm privileged that you're here with us sharing it. So Max, if you wouldn't mind chiming in for just a minute, can you tell us a little bit about when you first met BethAnn and how this relationship developed, and now she's doing this incredible challenge?
Well, I met BethAnn early on in my joining ABC Squared 8 years ago. She was this terrific leader in the Race for Hope that is our big 5K each year in Washington, D.C. And I learned quickly that a 5K for BethAnn is basically a warm-up lap.
Right.
But what I loved was her leadership. You know, she had hundreds of people that rooted for her and followed her and saw her as such a wonderful example of a person who fights. You know, she's our warrior. And for ABC Squared, which is a venture capital model type of organization, a group that takes risks and is aggressive, she's our perfect teammate. You know, she's out there in the lead, fighting the fight. And it's the Kona Ironman where we helped with that process and sent one of our team along so we could experience it along with BethAnn. I mean, it's an incredible thing to be able to participate and do that event in Kona. The idea of crossing the Grand Canyon from one rim to the other. We think of what we do scientifically and business-wise as a type of extreme sport. You know, go out on the edge and really do what you can. Well, what a metaphor to have an incredibly strong, brave, talented, compassionate person like BethAnn doing that with us. We're honored to be part of it and value every day we're able to help.
Well, we're all of us here in the community are grateful for you too, Max, and for ABC Squared, because you guys stand up and you know, for people with brain cancer. Historically, one of the least funded areas of cancer research, and it truly is the cutting edge. But it takes a sort of creativity and risk that most aren't willing to fund. And so I'm just kind of blown away by the whole venture philanthropy model that you guys lead with, because I wish more would do it. I think it's a great model, and I can't wait to see, you know, I hope later in the show to ask you a little bit about some of the projects you're working with. We are going to have to take another break again, but I'll just let our listeners know you can find ABC Squared basically at abc2.org, and they are the beneficiaries of this incredible event, the World Marathon Challenge. We'll be right back after these messages from our TogiNet sponsors. Don't go away.
Stay tuned. Janet will be right back with more on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure.
It's words you never heard.
Business News Daily reported a story from Career Builder that gave some humorous examples of actual job interview blunders. One Boris Norris candidate decided to take off his shoes during the interview. Probably not the best idea, even if you don't have smelly feet or podobromhidrosis. Another job applicant brought a how-to-interview book with him to the interview. Then he asked, "What company is this again?" And my favorite, the candidate who asked for a sip of the interviewer's coffee. That will cause a latte problems, and also it's a bit bumptious. And finally, one job applicant asked the interviewer if they could wrap it up quickly because he had another appointment. And a special thanks to our armed forces, men and women serving at home and abroad.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
Welcome back to more great conversation on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, because every child's life deserves hope. Here's Janet.
We're back once again. Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure, brought to you in part by Jack's Angels Foundation for Pediatric Brain Cancer Awareness and Research on the web at www.jacksangels.org. One of my guests today is a brain cancer survivor, BethAnn Telford of Fairfax, Virginia, and also super athlete who is training for the World Marathon Challenge in January 2017. Slated to begin January 23rd, if all goes well, running 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. Before returning to our conversation, I have just this bit of pediatric brain cancer news. This is Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where we're committed first and foremost to providing a platform from which the childhood cancer community may have a stronger voice and a sense of solidarity and support in a world which remains to a great extent aloof to the struggles of this community. We are on the air because of the need to raise greater collective awareness of the challenges that this community faces, which are great. Pediatric cancer as a whole is underfunded for research, and this can be said especially for pediatric brain cancer, the leading cause of death in children with cancer. So why so little funding to save these lives? Well, there are a number of reasons, and I repeat reasons, not excuses. We can do little to change the system until more are aware of the injustices that result from its current structure, not from its intention. Okay? Big companies, silo production, and leading with large numbers and distribution for business as well as humanitarian purposes are all factors in the equation and then some. So our job becomes very clear as it becomes all too easy to become engulfed in the trend toward obscurity of human suffering. So to assert very strongly and with as many voices in chorus that we expect the goals of saving lives and serving our most vulnerable and underserved populations to have greater consideration in the structure of the medical research system is very important. Only 4% of the federal budget, and that's a generous number, for cancer research benefits all childhood cancers combined. Using the deadliest example of DIPG, diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, the second most common pediatric brain tumor responsible for the majority of brain tumor deaths annually in children, we are reintroducing to the House of Representatives the National DIPG Awareness Resolution in 2017, hoping it gets reintroduced next month, with the goal of exemplifying the neglect of pediatric cancer research in general by the system, despite the urgency of need. The resolution does something very important for all childhood cancers and brain cancers. It asks, without stipulating or in a political way, or allocating funds, to simply consider with greater urgency the mortality of a type of cancer and years of life loss, meaning, the low survival rate cancers, and then children who tend to lose the most life. In the research grant process with the National Cancer Institute, which are our tax dollars that are purposed for cancer research, even less than the NCI money comes from private sector. This is why there have been so many parents screaming more than 4%, hashtag more than 4, for the past few years, that number has been so public. The issue never gets addressed directly in any of the other current cancer, childhood cancer legislation, or in the Moonshot Initiative, at least not as it is publicly. I know the people at the Washington one may have had better tidbits than the rest of us, but this House resolution, Little Train That Could, will need your support in 2017. It asks for May 17 to be National DIPG Awareness Day, and yes, making DIPG special for a day, honoring the tens of thousands of children who have bravely faced their death in the last 50 years, and sending a strong message to those currently afflicted that yes, indeed, we are fighting for them. Now, why May 17th? That's another bit of news. The Michael Mosier Defeat DIPG Foundation is making a concerted effort across the country, concurrently with the introduction of the national resolution, to have each state's governor make a proclamation for that date, May 17th, 2017, for DIPG awareness. We watched Michael Mosier, through his fight with DIPG, raise more money than any other team in 2015 for the Race for a Cure in Washington, D.C. that benefits NBTS and ABC Squared. And then sadly, he perished just 2 weeks later on May 17th. And so without the name of any child in the language of any of the proclamations or in the national resolution, we are all agreeing on May 17th. So right now, it's because of companies like ABC Squared and parent-initiated foundations specific to a type of cancer that the deadliest cancers get research funding, especially brain cancer. This is why BethAnn's run is so important, her running in general, and her leadership. And I'm hoping to ask her to run in our little virtual race when you can run from anywhere in the world on your own time between April 30th and May 17th, Jack's Angels Relay for Research. And the registration for the virtual run opens on January 17th, 2017. So in returning to our guests today, and I'm so glad to have them, BethAnn, could you tell us a little more about Michael Mosier and your inspiration from him?
Oh, yeah. I had the wonderful opportunity to meet him thanks to the Race for Hope in DC, which the Race for Hope DC funds, like you said, ABC Squared and the National Brain Tumor Society. It is the largest United States brain tumor event, 5K, that is held. It's held every year, the first weekend of May. And there they give survivors the opportunity to gather together, to meet each other. And we wear a different colored shirt than someone else if you're a survivor or a fighter. And I met Mike and his whole family there. It was devastating to see because I remember the pictures of him as a young child being vibrant and running around and playing, to when I last saw him, which, like you said, was just a few moments or weeks before he perished. And he was in a wheelchair and he didn't look like him, but he was just a fighter. And I find that all these kids diagnosed with cancer, especially the children that I come in contact with, they have so much love because I think they know where they are and what's happening to them. And he just shared so much love. I have a great picture of him, still keep in contact with his parents. And I'm just hoping that this bill gets through and gets signed, not just for him and his legacy, but for the so many others that have this most deadliest type of brain cancer, the DIPG. And to answer your question, I am certainly going to be running virtually for this because it's in my heart. And it's too bad it doesn't start prior to it because I'd have 180 some odd miles in the bucket. But it will happen right after I get back from Boston. And I'm more than happy to do this, and we'll be getting my crew to do it as well.
Oh, it'd be so exciting.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm just thrilled.
Yes.
I'm personally, I started running, and I started my advocacy running for DIPG and running with angel wings and ribbons.
Yes.
Ribbons for kids. And I'm taking a little bit of a hiatus from running because, I wasn't in the greatest shape that you're in. And my Achilles tendon is telling me, if you mess with me much more, girl, you're not going to run anymore. So I have to stop.
Well, I think you're doing it upon miles. So really anyone can do it because there's a lot of people that can't run for various, health reasons. So I tell people just to get out and walk the mall a mile, go walk around your town and, just clock. That's what's so great about Fitbit. Clock your times, stay healthy, just stay active.
Definitely. And that's true. I mean, it's called a run walk. People can choose their distance, like 5, 10K, 20K. But at any rate, to return to the event coming up, there was a team, just to kind of highlight the global importance of this. There are teams all over the world that are going to be highlighted by this event. It's 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 days. And the first one begins, slated tentatively, is January 23rd. And Max Wallace of ABC Squared, I wanted to ask you about the UK. There was a UK team that we were going to be raising a little bit of awareness for. Could you tell us about them?
There's a wonderful charity in the UK that we have worked with called the Brain Tumor Charity. And it's basically a consolidation of a group of nonprofits where they found they had a fragmented universe and weren't as effective doing things in small pieces on their own, brought themselves together. They've turned into one of the world's visionary organizations for doing brain cancer research funding. And we learned of them through some friends here in the U.S., and we went over to the UK to meet with them and have wound up forging this wonderful friendship that I think is going to get stronger and stronger. And one of the things that will help it do that is the fact that they have a runner participating, and there are actually 2 brain tumor organizations cheering on our champions as they go on this incredible adventure.
Oh, fantastic! And do you know what the organizations are in the UK?
They are now under this one umbrella organization called the Brain Tumor Charity, where they consolidated their research funding. It's hard if you split your research funding into too many small pieces because you can't achieve critical mass to make scientific progress. And so they did a very interesting thing. They brought a group of them together and agreed to operate under one umbrella organization. And it's been an interesting thing to watch, and it's made them very powerful on a worldwide leadership basis in the space.
Well, it seems to me also that the UK is really leading in a number of different types of experimental surgery. This is, again, for brain cancer. In fact, I think they have the first no evidence of disease DIPG child there. We had her mom on the show. The little girl's name is Emma Wren, and she had it was Dr. Gill's work from the University of Bristol in the UK, and I've just been thinking, gosh, I hope that with more world attention, that we'll start to cross those borders a little bit more and share more.
Well, information travels quickly now, both because of electronics. Information can move fast, but now that all the scientists are connected, they read the latest material as soon as it comes out. They contact each other. We see the scientists we work with so much in the U.S. now going to a number of conferences in Europe and in Asia. And the whole purpose of that is not just luxury travel. It is to sit down and talk expert to expert about how to make these things go faster. Many of the clinical trials being planned now are multinational clinical trials. Right. It is hard in pediatric cancers, and certainly in pediatric brain cancer, where some of the types of cancers are rare in terms of any one center seeing a lot of patients. If you're going to do a clinical trial, you need a cooperative group of centers to come together so that you can, within a reasonable period of time, test the treatments in a large enough number of cases. And that demands not just cooperation among doctors, say in the United States, but around the world. So the new trials, especially in pediatrics, are kind of leading the way in how you do these international collaborative trials.
It's wonderful. With her participation in the World Marathon Challenge, BethAnn Telford hopes to hit the $1 million milestone. We'll be right back after these messages from our TogiNet sponsors. Don't go away.
Stay tuned. Janet will be right back with more on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure.
Are you happy with your life? Satisfied with the direction you're taking? More importantly, are you content with the results you're seeing? Then Success Profiles Radio is the program for you. Join host Brian K. Wright as he talks to experts in many areas relating to life success, including expertise in leadership, business, relationships, careers, networking, health, overcoming adversity, and much more. Each week, we'll explore different aspects of success and how to apply them to your life. For more on Brian and the show, check out his website, briankwright.com. Each week is a dose of inspiration. So many people live their lives wanting more than they currently have. Success Profiles Radio is a show that will clearly demonstrate the principle, if I can do it, you can do it. So don't miss this opportunity to take control of your life and your results. Success Profiles Radio with Brian K. Wright, Mondays at 5 p.m. Central.
It's words you never heard.
NASA's Scott Kelly recently broke the record for the longest consecutive time spent in space, with over 300 days and counting. Astronaut Kelly says he doesn't really experience the mollygrubs or depression, but is fully aware of the dangers of being in space. In other words, he understands the gravity of the situation. Speaking of gravity, in space, your arms don't hang by your side like they do here on Earth. So astronaut Kelly says he tucks them inside his sleeping bag at night so they don't float in front of him. Hey, isn't it always night in space? He also says that he doesn't get the same satisfaction of laying down to sleep like people on Earth. At least there's no chance of matutolipia. That's getting up on the wrong side of the bed.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
You'll always have my shoulder when you cry.
Welcome back to more great conversation on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, because every child's life deserves hope. Here's Janet.
Welcome back to the show. BethAnn Telford is hoping to break the $1 million barrier with her World Marathon Challenge, seeking sponsors for all 183.4 miles of the event. Sponsorships and donations for her research fundraising campaign can be made at www.bt for brain tumors and then WMC World Marathon Challenge.org. That's btwmc.org. And you know what? Over the break, we were talking behind the scenes here, and BethAnn was mentioning to me how expensive it can be just over time, not just with treatment for brain cancer, but the long, non-trivial effects that treatment can have, especially on our young people. BethAnn, you were telling me about this girl who was, using a walker now, and how her family had disclosed to you that, oh my gosh, over time, that's a lot of money that they ended up spending.
Yes. This child, like I said, was, diagnosed some time ago. And she was not to ever get out of a bed, hospital or, anything at home. But the parents just pushed so hard, in the love of friends and family and great teachers. They have her now. She's on a walker. Her name is Ava. She's under Ava's Story. And she's been one of my champions now for the last several years. I've followed her. She's 14 now. And the great thing about her, she wanted to share news with me, and I wanted to see her prior to me departing the country for this epic event. But her news that she shared with me was more epic than the event that I'm on, and I just fell to my knees. She was chosen to go out to the Special Olympics facility in Utah to train with the Special Olympics for the first time ever since she's been sick, snowboard and do some sporting activities that someone like herself would never be chosen to do. But to get back to this whole thing, other than her great news, was the parents were saying how lucky they were to be financially secured to pay for her bills, because they have kept track of everything. And we're talking from the day she was diagnosed to current today. And it was over $5 million. And
that's crazy.
I just, in a way I can believe it because I had my own medical expenses. But for people that do not have the financial income, they just can't afford it. And this is where families break down. They need assistance. We need these researchers. We need this advocacy. It's just, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just unfortunately the reality for many people, and also why a lot of folks don't get certain things, why they don't get the better drug or the special treatment, or especially all of the things that are done outside of alternative treatments, which some people swear by.
Yeah, let alone that, the ability to travel to a great facility that would be, someone that's in the middle of Nebraska that needs to get to Duke. How are they paying for air miles or a car to get there? I've had pediatric families and adult families that don't even have a great car that are going from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to Philly, and they can't make it because of, lack of funds to get on a bus or Amtrak. I mean, it comes down to that. They're taking off work or being terminated or let go of their job because they can't hold a job due to the fact taking care of a sick one. And, they don't have the money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I remember even when we were going through it, we were just a few years ago, we were refugees from a fire, and we had lost everything in a fire. And then, a couple of years later, my son was diagnosed, and, we didn't have air conditioning in our cars. And where we live in Southern California is incredibly hot and dry. And there were a couple of times we just couldn't make it down to the hospital because I didn't want to put him through it. And I don't know if it was just being too proud to let people know that or what, but a diagnosis like that, no matter how you slice it, whether you're well off or you're not, it can be a really isolating experience. And when you don't have the extra funds, that's when it really starts to, make an obvious difference.
Agreed.
So bringing people together, there's so many good childhood cancer organizations right now out there for people. Please visit jacksangels.org if you're listening, for our resources page. If you go to the CAC2 website, cac2.org, has an enormous list of helpful organizations for people, and the organization itself, if you petition them, will help you find the right one. Thank God, right? Because not that long ago, it was a different story.
Well, that's funny that you say that. Not long ago, when I was with Dr. Brem, which we talked about earlier on this call, I would go into Johns Hopkins to the neuro unit area, and I would be there with my caregiver, my family, and then just another patient or two. When I was there this week, the 40-seat area was totally taken. People were standing. It was just, and that was 12 years ago. And I'm even thinking, 6 years ago, it was the same way. I literally got up and gave my seat away to an older gentleman that was coming in. And that older gentleman happened to be someone that I worked with years ago in the government. And it was just amazing to see him there, let alone all the other people.
Oh, could you tell us a little bit about your work? That was something I had written down that I wanted to ask you about. You work for the government?
Yes, I've been blessed to have a wonderful job. They've been so great with me and my advocacy, and they promote, as much as they can, being a federal agency, Accelerate Brain Cancer Cure, and my journeys. And I work for the government publishing office. It used to be printing office, which is under the president, and I'm an events coordinator. So what we do is we mostly print and publish everything that is said by Congress and by the president. And we do special events for him. The most recently, which a lot of people can relate to, is what's called the Plum Book. We published that and then put that out for sale 2 Mondays ago. And the Plum Book contains all of the jobs that now are president appointed that the newest administration is now trying to fill. Wow. And it's called the Plum Book because it's, it's a plum in color. But we do everything there as far as the Congressional Register, the Federal Register, the presidential papers. And the biggest thing that's coming up, we'll be doing the inauguration. All the tickets are done, and we do the passports as well.
Wow, that's a pretty big event.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. And unfortunately, I will not be here for it. I'll be out of the country. But, it's history, and a lot of people love history. I'm one of them. And it's just part of how our country is ruled and how we go about our everyday basis of living here in the United States.
Well, I'm with you on that, and it gives me great comfort, the more I learn about our federal government and about how many workers, that are so dedicated and involved to the different agencies that remain. Thank goodness, we keep marching on, and whoever's in for the administration, and I'm realizing it's that way with advocacy too. We just need to keep our noses to the grindstones and keep connecting and keep communicating, and it's all going to move forward well, I think. I'm calling 2017 the year of miracles.
Yes. Yes.
And this is a time where advocacy will be very important. Anytime you have a change in administration, it is likely you will see changes in attitudes. And so a lot of the advocacy work that you have done, for example, Janet, the terrific work, needs to be kept up because there are new minds to be convinced on things ranging from insurance coverage to research funding priorities. It is such an important time for all of us.
Yes. So all of you out there who do advocate, could double down, bring forward the work that you've done in the past and update the new people coming in. That's what I did. I don't know if anyone really read it or not, but but I sent it in, and I think it's very important just to keep connected, and also with the staffers that you've talked to before. For more information about advocacy, please go to childrenscause.org or kidsvcancer.org. All those resources you can, of course, find on our website as well. But Max, while I have you just for another minute, I wanted to ask you, is there any certain project that you're really excited about that you guys are looking to fund with the money that Beth is raising?
BethAnn's been very active with us in trying to bring 2 new vaccine trials to life. The University of Florida has put together a network of pediatric cancer centers around the country for the reasons we talked about both nationally and internationally. And they're doing new immune therapies for DIPG and medulloblastoma, 2 of the important pediatric brain cancers. And while we're not a pediatric focused organization, we're omnivores, we go after brain cancer. These are some of the most promising things we've seen, and BethAnn has become a tireless advocate for the teams that are working on this now.
That's fantastic. And not a moment too soon. But if it weren't, though, for organizations like ABC Squared and everybody, it's at abc2.org. If it weren't for organizations like yours, that we wouldn't have the hope of speeding up, shorten it, making the gap smaller between where we stand now and finally getting that cure. I think there was an Australian neurosurgeon. He's on our website, and he had said in an interview about Miss Erin Griffin that it would be 80 years or 50 to 80 years at the rate that we're funding the research right now until we have a cure. And it's because of ABC Squared and organizations like yours and leaders like BethAnn Telford that we have hope of getting there a heck of a lot sooner, especially for our kiddos.
Well, I think we can take calculated risks and move in more nimble directions than a large-scale government funding effort can. We are like venture capitalists in terms of how we invest, and it's finding the most promising things and doing the right things to bring them forward quickly. And we're not always right. It's a portfolio set of choices. But in our history, we've had a hand in bringing 14 new brain cancer drugs into the clinic. And I think, the goal is to bring more and more in. We need new options for people.
Thank you so much. And both of you, we are totally out of time. I didn't stretch it out well enough for you. I just wanted to say thank you. Please come back and update us with how the challenge goes and also with this new project with vaccines. Max, we would love to have you return and be with us again.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, and I definitely will return as well. And thank you for everything that you do as well, Janet. It means a lot.
Excellent. Bon voyage.